Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Deeply appreciate you all being here. You are way over there.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here today. I've been asked to do a little bit of a background because there are some things that a lot of people don't know in terms of how I actually got started here. So I'm just going to share a few things that I don't normally share with people about what happened to get me where I am here today. I was working a long time ago in a graphics studio. And one day, after we had just moved in, we realized that somebody had left a desk in the studio from the last occupants. And I started going through the desk and I found a deck of tarot cards in the desk. And I pulled them out. I sat on the floor and I just started reading the instructions. I had never really understood how this all worked before, and I was just playing around with the cards. A client came in who was going to have lunch with my boss, but my boss told him, please, can you wait about 15 minutes? I'm still working on something. So he sat down in the lobby, saw me on the floor with these cards, and said, oh, you do tarot. My grandma used to do tarot. Can you do a reading for me while I'm waiting? I'm like, well, I just literally opened this box of cards. I'm reading the instructions. I don't really understand how this works. And being British, he said, well, you know, just to kill the time, just for shits and giggles. I said, okay, I'll do my best. So I just started laying the cards out in the way that the instructions said to do it. I started looking at the instructions in terms of generally what the cards were supposed to mean. After a few minutes, I just kind of ignored the instructions and started getting impressions from the cards. Certain things would stand out. And I just started going with an intuitive, line of information coming through me. I had no idea what I was really talking about, and I was just saying what I felt like saying. And one of the things was, this is a client I didn't really know that well. And so some of the things I was saying to him were just kind of odd that I would say them, like, you left England to get away from your girlfriend. And I'm still looking at the cards, I'm not looking at him. So I do the whole reading, I finish, I look up at him, he's staring down at me, white as a sheet. And he said, how did you know all of that? That's all true. And I said, I don't know, I'm just got an intuition about it. From that moment forward, I realized this was something I could do. And I started doing tarot readings for different people. A couple of years later, I found online someone who said that they were teaching how to psychically, emotionally connect with people, and that he'd be willing to teach people how to do this. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting too. Let's see what we can do with that. So I literally called him up. He was back east, asked him, if I gather a number of people for a class, are you willing to fly out here and teach us this? He said yes. And so we started conducting that class. And it was about emotional linking with different people to sort of get a sense of what they were going through. He would give us a subject that he knew about and knew what their situation was, and we would go into our altered state that he taught us to go into, and we would say what we were getting, again, intuitively. And we found, again, many of us in the class could actually emotionally link with these people and say basically what they were going through. It was during that class that I was then introduced to the channel who was conducting seminars, and I decided to go into that class, not because I thought I was going to be a channel. I had already started doing a lot of research about what metaphysical things were about, and I just thought, well, this is interesting, because I thought channeling was not something that you could be taught. in reading things like the Seth material and Edgar Cayce and stuff like that, I just thought, well, it's just something that happens to you out of the blue, because a lot of people said they just kind of like conk out and suddenly they're talking and they wake up and somebody tells them, yeah, you've been talking for the last 2 hours, and they don't know that. So I said, okay, well, this is interesting. Let me see what this is all about. So that's when I went into that class, which was a series of guided meditations. Bless you. And it was a 12-week course, and about 6 weeks in is when the familiar story I usually tell happened, where we were in the meditative state and I received what felt like a telepathic hit from Bashar, a memory coming back of having to made this agreement with him in this life to do this, and the offer of, well, now you know it's time to begin if you're ready, if you still want to do this. And in that moment, you know, all of this memory and everything was coming back. I saw an image of his face. I heard the word Bashar in my head, didn't know what it meant, thought it was his name. We now know it's just an Arabic word that means messenger. The reason it was chosen that way is because I'm half Arabic in my background, but I don't speak the language. So that word didn't mean anything to me until I found out years later from someone else that the word Bashar means messenger or bringer of good news. So it was appropriate for what he was doing. But in the class, when that happened to me, I wasn't saying anything to anyone. The meditation was still going on. And this all came into my mind in a split second. But the second this happened, the entity coming through the teacher stopped teaching the meditation and turned to me and said, there's an entity here for you right now if you're ready to begin. I opened my eyes, I looked around, because I didn't know if I was hallucinating or if this was some side effect of the meditation or what was going on. But I happened to glance behind me, and one of the other classmates had somehow also picked up on the image of Bashar that I saw, and she was sketching it on a piece of paper. So I already had 2 outside validations that there was something going on beyond my imagination, and I decided to go ahead and keep practicing with it. One thing led to another. I started channeling for people in a house where a woman was doing her doctoral thesis on a connection between channeling and psychology. She would invite her friends over, I would channel for them, she would take her notes. But one thing led to another, word of mouth spread, more and more people started coming. We had to do them in 2 houses and then another house and then auditoriums and so on and so forth. I started getting invited to different cities, different countries, and here we are 40 years later, I'm still doing this. So, in a nutshell, that's sort of what happened to my ordinary life. Never thinking that this was going to be where I would wind up. So, you know, that just gives you a little bit of a background of how a path can kind of unfold for people in unusual ways, as long as you are, as Bashar says, kind of following your excitement, following your curiosity and your interests. Synchronicity will lead you to the next step and the next opportunity, even though you don't necessarily see the connections. And looking back on my life from this perspective, I can see that there were a lot of other things that happened that were actually setups to prepare me for doing this even before I knew anything about this kind of thing. So from this point of view, I can see that it's definitely something I chose as a life path, but didn't know it until I was deeply into it. So for all of you following your life paths, definitely follow your curiosity. It will lead you to where you need to be. Follow your excitement. And the one thing I like to say to people who are a little bit, maybe have a little bit of trepidation of doing that, is even before I knew about Bashar's principle of following your passion, it's just something that I always did. When I got out of high school, I had one job for 6 months as a bank teller. I knew right then that this was not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that's when I went into the graphic studio, because I've always been an artist. I've been drawing ever since I could lift a pencil. So it was always my particular orientation to not choose to do anything I wasn't excited about doing. And the one thing I always say is, considering that I've been doing this now all my life, it has always supported me. It has never not supported me. So I know that people get scared. It's like, well, if I follow my passion, am I going to be able to make a living? Am I going to be able to be supported in life? Am I going to be able to pay my rent? Yes, you will. It's just that you really have to have the understanding that that's where it takes you. That's how it works. Because if it didn't include the ability to be supported and allow you to continue to thrive in physical reality, following your passion would be pointless. It contains everything it needs to allow you to continue to do that when you remain in that state. So that's one of the most important things I would like to share with all of you about the whole idea that Bashar talks about following your passion and really understanding that that is a state of being that contains everything that you actually need to allow you to keep going. Make sense? Okay. So today I know we have a lot of questions. Carissa over here is going to be asking them on your behalf. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to just go ahead and allow Bashar to come through, say what he's going to say for a few minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Carissa to ask your questions. So thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a good time. Bye-bye. I always like to say this is the one thing where you get paid for sleeping on the job. See? So that's how it works. All right. All right, let's say good day to you. This day of your time. How are you all? All right. We are here to discuss the idea of the evolutionary path of humanity. Where are you all heading? The idea, of course, is that you are going through many different transitions now, many different reorientations. You are going through a reset of humanity. You are getting a lot of things out on the table, as you say, to examine them, to decide what it is you truly prefer and which directions you truly need to move in, to realize your full potential. We understand that there may be many things going on your planet now that may seem to be quite chaotic, quite uncertain. But the idea, again, is that this is going to give you an opportunity to understand the difference between what you do and don't prefer more clearly than ever before, so that you can make decisions and make changes in your society, in your culture, that will allow you to move forward in the way that the majority of you truly prefer to express yourselves. So take advantage of this opportunity, because remember, even if you see something that manifests that you don't prefer, at the very least it gives you an opportunity by contrast to understand more clearly what you do prefer. And that is a positive way to use what you don't prefer. Because again, as we have said many times to all of you, it's not about what happens that matters. It's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference in your world. So, don't allow yourselves to be swayed by anything that is not representative of the vibration of your true self and your preference. Allow yourself to examine with curiosity why something is happening in your reality. It's all happening for a reason. It's all happening to accelerate you. No matter whether it seems positive or negative, you can always use it to your advantage if you stay in a positive state, which is the fourth principle of the formula that we share with all of you. Because staying in that positive state allows you to figure out how you can use whatever's happening, even if it's something you don't prefer, to your advantage, and allows you to learn the lessons that will allow you to move forward in a more accelerated way. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So, again, the evolutionary path of humanity now is changing over the next few decades. It is a reset that is having taken place from your year of 2020 all the way up to your year of 2050. And this idea after 2050 will be that humanity will be on a different course, a different trajectory, and it will be heading towards becoming a full-fledged member of the Interstellar Alliance. The idea, as we have said, is that within the next 5 years, open contact will begin to occur. Slow introductions at first to different extraterrestrial species. And while this may seem quick and out of the blue, as you say, that open contact would happen in the next 5 years, it is actually something that would be the end result of things that have been going on behind the scenes in your society for quite some time. Because without most of you knowing about it, many extraterrestrials have actually been engaged with many of your scientists and your government officials working on different things to benefit your society. And it is now within the next 5 years that the timing is correct for all of you to begin to realize what has been going on for decades behind the scenes. So be prepared to understand that your society on every level is about to change. And the idea is, again, how you handle it, what you do with it, how you can allow it to serve you, how you can allow it to move forward, because this is what you have chosen. This is what you have designed as your life path, and that life path has included an invitation to all of us to come and share information with you, ideas with you, perspectives with you, so that you can incorporate these ideas according to your own wishes in the way you wish to in your life path, collectively and individually, so that you can move forward and allow the earth to evolve, allow humanity to evolve in the direction that will allow you to become your true selves and fully human, which you aren't yet. So the idea is, again, you're going to find in the next few decades, over time, a bit at a time, that you'll be introduced to new things, new ideas, new abilities, new opportunities, new extraterrestrial connections that will allow you to hone your skills, open up to your true selves, develop more abilities to commune with your own selves, with your higher minds, your souls, your spirits, even with the spirit world over time, to be more telepathically bonded with one another, to move in a direction that will serve and benefit the totality of humanity without exception eventually, allowing you to realize the full potential of your true selves and the allowance of more of your soul to come through in the physical expression that you have created to experience as your reality. There are many stories from ancient times being played out in your reality now. Stories of ancient Orion oppression, stories of the destruction of Atlantis, stories of the ancient Martian civilizations that were wiped out by natural catastrophes. The idea is that all of the souls now from all of these things have incarnated on your planet so that all of these stories can take advantage of the cycles of Earth to play these stories out to a new and more positive ending so that you can move forward and use all of that momentum to accelerate yourselves greatly into the future in a more positive way. Do you understand? Yes. So remember again, yes, Earth is a challenging school, but that makes it a master graduating class. You are strong spirits and strong souls who have chosen to be here in these exciting times to take advantage of the opportunity, of the clarity, of recognizing what you are and what you are not, so that you can help serve humanity by moving forward, expressing your gifts, sharing your gifts, to make sure that you are allowing everyone to receive those gifts so they can use them to their benefit to move forward, so that you can all work together in that way and serve each other as the reflections of all that is that you all are. Make sense? Yes. All right. We thank you for allowing us to talk a little bit about the idea of your evolutionary path. We will talk about it more in future transmissions, but for right now, we will allow you to engage in dialogue and questions so that we may continue to be of service to you in that way. Please begin with your questions if you wish.
Thank you, Bashar, for being here. I think I speak for all of us when I say we're thrilled to have this experience, and I feel honored to be able to ask these questions.
It is our passion, our pleasure, our gratitude, and our appreciation, and our honor to speak with all of you.
We're going to start with a simple and a really relatable one from Anonymous. How can we discern between true excitement and impulsive desire or escapism?
When you are honest with your self-investigation, you certainly all know the difference between excitement and anxiety. You just have to be very honest about why you are choosing to do whatever it is you are choosing to do. Take a moment not to just impulsively move forward, but look at your actions, look at your choices, and ask yourself, why am I choosing to do this? Do I really have a positive reason for doing this? Or am I acting out of fear? Am I acting out of anxiety? Am I avoiding something by doing this? Am I procrastinating to do something by doing this? You need to develop the skill of investigating and interrogating your reasons for doing whatever it is you choose to do. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? And you have to be willing to be honest with your answers within yourself, to become transparent, to fulfill the ancient wisdom of know thyself, and become transparent to yourself and not be afraid of engaging with that portion of your consciousness and letting it be all right to find out that you may in fact be acting out of fear, you may be acting out of resistance, because you may have a belief within yourself that moving forward on your true passion would create something even more scary or worse than what you're already experiencing, which can never actually happen, and that would never be a true fact, but you may have a belief that it might happen that way. So you have to understand the motivational mechanism of humanity, that you will always move in the direction of what you believe benefits you. You will always move away from what you believe does not. Even though you know you may be choosing things that don't benefit you, you will always choose them if you believe the alternative would be worse. And therefore, even though you may not prefer what you're choosing, you will always choose it if you feel it is safer than the alternative. So you have to be understanding of how this works within your psychology, and you have to be willing to hear the answers that answer why you chose what you're choosing, and you have to be willing to really investigate yourself with deep honesty and have discernment to know the difference, very simply, between when you are choosing excitement and when you are choosing from anxiety. It's that simple.
Thank you for that. So a follow-up question is, so it's possible that your highest excitement could lead you down a path of greatest learning?
Yes, absolutely, by definition. Now, sometimes if you choose something that is not necessarily representative of your path, of your highest self, you can still learn lessons from it. Everything is an opportunity to learn something from, even if you choose something that's not representative of your path. That's why we say it doesn't really matter what happens, it only matters what you do with what happens that makes the difference. So even if something manifests that you don't prefer, it's still there for a reason and can still be used to learn the lesson that can turn you around to the path that would actually be more representative of your true vibration. So use everything to your advantage. When something happens that you don't prefer, don't react negatively to it. Don't say something is wrong, something isn't working here. I should be beyond this. I should be more spiritual so that this never happens to me. If it happens, there's a reason for it happening, but you can use it to your advantage if you stay in a positive state. You will be inspired to figure out, if you stay in a positive state, how to use it to your advantage. Remember, you can only perceive what you are the vibration of first. That's just physics. What you put out is what you get back. So if you go into a negative state and react negatively to what's manifested, you cannot be inspired to figure out how to use it positively. You have to already stay in a positive state and be in a positive state to get the inspirations that will allow you to understand how to get a benefit out of what's happening. Again, remember, if nothing else, on the simplest possible level, seeing something you don't prefer manifest gives you much more clarity about what you do prefer. And that's a positive way to use what you don't prefer. So stay in that positive state, and that will allow you to learn the lessons that will accelerate you forward in a positive and preferable way.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yes.
This next question is from Annalise. This is for all the parents out there. We know that these little light babies are the future. As parents, in what ways should we be nurturing them to handle the task that they have brought here to accomplish?
First of all, of course, be open to learning from them, because many of those children are some of the greatest teachers you will ever discover. That's number one. You are still the parent, however, and still the teacher to some degree. And the idea is, number one, create with your own imagination and your own creativity a safe space in which you can create simulations and play acting that will allow your child to understand the consequence of the choices they are making before they actually make that choice out in what you call the general real world, the public, so that they can understand what the consequences are, because you also teach them that they're connected to everyone and there is no such thing as a choice made in isolation. It always has an effect, and they need to understand what the consequences of those choices are. Secondly, whatever it is you believe as a parent that they need to learn as a lesson to thrive in physical reality and thrive in a collective society, use again your creativity and imagination to figure out a way to adapt the lesson to their excitement, not diminish their excitement into the lesson. Do you understand? So the idea is also teach them the formula. Teach them that they are as powerful as they need to be to create whatever they need in life without hurting themselves or anyone else, because that's the true measure of power. When someone needs to force their idea on someone else, that is an admission of powerlessness, not an admission of power. It takes no power to destroy. It takes power to create. So the idea is, again, teach them the difference of true power. Let them understand how to use the power of the illusion and not fall under the illusion of power. So that would be a good starting point for any parent or guardian, using their creativity and imagination to create scenarios for those children to grow up being imaginative and creative, and also wanting to learn. Because when you teach somebody something that you think they need to know, that's important for them to know, by using what they're already excited about to adapt their excitement in learning that lesson, they will always be eager to learn. And therefore you will develop an adult who is willing to absorb and learn from every situation, because they will already understand from what you have created in these scenarios that they can use every situation to their advantage if they approach every single challenge that comes up in their life as an understanding that this is a lesson they need to learn, that they have laid out for themselves on their life path, and therefore approach it with curiosity instead of trepidation. Every time a challenge comes up, that's the themes that you have decided to explore. So get curious. What is this going to teach me? What is this challenge all about? How can I learn a lesson here? How can I move forward there? How can this accelerate me in a positive way? How can this help me learn more about who I am as a soul, as a being that can be expressed through this physical medium? Approach these challenges with curiosity, not with trepidation. teach your children all of this.
So is it fair to say that the way that we're parenting these children is also the way that we should be reparenting our own inner child?
Yes, of course. Now, understand that over time, the hybrid children that have been created will also come to live among you. And they, again, will be great teachers for all of you. And I will tell you this. Some of them, a small percentage of them, are already living among you. Most of you don't know that. Because one of the ways that hybrid children have already begun to be introduced into your society is through adoption agencies. Because they've been left on the doorstep, no one knows where they came from. The hybrid children know who they are. They know they are hybrids. But they look human enough that people will adopt them into their families, the people that resonate with them. So there's a small percentage of hybrid children already living in your society. More will come.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome for that.
This next question is from Powers, and I really appreciate this one. As a first contact specialist, when will we get to have the first face-to-face experience with you?
With me personally or my species? We will
Both
not be
and.
the first. As I said, within the next 5 years, thus revealing this underlying structure, this very regular pattern, even though you started out assuming that everything was random and chaotic. So we wish to extrapolate to you that even though things now across your planet may seem to be somewhat unpredictable and chaotic in many different ways and many different aspects of your society, sociologically, economically, politically, religiously, what have you, the idea to understand is that when enough events of this nature occur, you will start to see an underlying pattern, an underlying structure that will help you understand how to recreate the idea of stability in a new way, from a new perspective, from a new direction, that can, even out of all the chaos, create a new direction, a new stabilization for your society to move forward upon, a new framework upon which to build a new society, a new direction, allowing you to experience the kinds of changes that are necessary for the evolution of humanity in a positive direction. So you can always transform what at first may appear to be a lot of chaos if you stay in a positive state, if you start to really look for the patterns, you start to allow yourself to relate to every event as if there is possibly some advantage you can gain, some lesson you can learn, some knowledge you can access in what's going on, and use it in a positive way. You can start to build this framework, start to build this structure, start to see it more clearly for the direction it can point in, to allow you to move evolutionarily in the direction of a greater period of time, a greater expression of creativity, a greater experience of stability for humankind. That will lead you not only to open contact, but to your place in the galactic family to which you belong. So do not despair. Do not lose heart. The idea that you may have hopes and dreams is fine. But hopes and dreams allow you to simply stay in the state you need to be in so that you can finally perceive what it is you need to know in order to understand how an underlying structure underpins everything in your physical reality creation, no matter how chaotic on the surface things may appear. Remember that all of this is the product of life paths that have been chosen from spirit to help drive you in a direction that you prefer. But as we always remind you in the formula, you must stay in the positive state with everything that happens, or at the very least, remain in a neutral state I'm not saying accepting things you don't prefer. A neutral state is just a state of observation that gives you the opportunity to decide how what happens will affect you personally in your life. So staying in that neutral or positive state will allow you to take advantage of whatever happens. Again, remembering it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens. It's about the actions that you take in the direction of your preference with regard to what is happening, the responses that you give that are positively oriented, that can stave off the offers that are being made to you that may be out of alignment, that may be negative, that may be fear-based. But staying in that positive state will allow you to transform things that you will perceive as chaotic on the surface into this underlying structure. You will begin to perceive it in time. And that underlying structure will form the framework that will move you forward, that will create connectivity and stability between those of like mind to allow you to evolve in the direction that will benefit all humanity. So, right now you are riding the rapids, but the stream downstream is calm. You just have to get there. You just have to learn to maintain your balance so that you do not tip over the boat, the canoe, the kayak that you are using to ride these rapids. Maintain the balance. Stay true to yourself. Stay positive or at least neutral. Observe how the chaos can add another dot, another event that can eventually reveal the underlying structure that reveals the direction you have all decided to go in, even though some of the impetus may seem to be negative and chaotic. It is all driving you forward if you use it that way. So we encourage you to stay in a space where ultimately the chaos can reveal the underlying patterns to you, that you can begin to see them, connect to them, to allow your heart to open up to them, and to feel the momentum of moving in a direction that will benefit all. So expect the unexpected, but use it to your advantage, because it's all about what you do with what happens. It's all about how you use the surprises, how you use the unexpected, how you use what you don't prefer to move you more clearly in the direction that you do prefer. The power is with you. Don't forget to act. Choose and act. Choose and act. Unexpected things can hold many surprises that are beneficial for humanity. Learn to use them to your advantage. That is what we have to say today. So, we will thank you for allowing us to share this with you. And in return, we ask, how may we continue to be of service to you? How may we help you? Or in our ancient language, Iski teveo atua. Iski teveo atua. How may we help you? Please begin with your questions and dialogues, if you wish.
Hey,
Good day, good day.
I'm so excited to be here and to see you today. My first question is, I've been practicing a state of love and joy and passion as much as I can. And it's a wonderful experience and to see the world through these lenses. And then at times I feel I put myself in fear. And this is like a fear that I know from my whole life, like underlying fear, that's always been there. And then I start overeating, my body gets swollen, and I get frozen. And basically, I cannot do much. And I've been investigating beliefs around that. And yet I feel I'm not really there. I still do that. I find it difficult to, yeah.
All right. But again, remember, there must be something that you are even more afraid of, and that's why you stop yourself from moving forward. That's why you freeze yourself. because you are afraid that if you keep moving forward, there is something even more terrifying that may happen. And remember, this is simply the story that the negative belief is telling you, that if you keep going, something really bad will happen. Something really worth being afraid of will happen. Remember, as we have reminded all of you in the past, the more terrifying things get, the closer you are to freeing yourself from the negative belief. Because the more afraid you are to move forward, that means the negative belief is trying harder and harder and harder to make sure you don't let it go. And therefore, it's trying to make you even more scared to move forward because you're so close to letting it go that it has to try that much harder to make you afraid of letting it go. So you have to see the fact that you get really scared as a sign that you're very close to breaking through and breaking free from the negative belief. You have to have a clearer understanding that that's what's happening, mechanically speaking, that that's how negative beliefs function. And if you can allow yourself to remember that when you are really, really scared, when you are afraid and the fear comes up and the negativity comes up, remind yourself that this is the negative belief working very hard because you're so close to really breaking free and letting it go. And it's creating the illusion in the story that it's telling you that something even worse than what you've already felt, what you've already experienced, what you've already imagined will happen if you keep moving forward. You have to see this, in a sense, as an act of desperation on the part of the negative belief to try even harder to make sure you don't let it go. And once you can see that, you can see through it. You can see through the illusion, through the trick that it's trying to guide you with, and you can finally be free and move forward and feel the momentum that will accelerate you in the direction of your preference. Does this make sense to you? Do you understand what we're saying?
Yes, it does make sense. And I was wondering if you could help me to, investigate more.
No. You're misunderstanding. There is nothing else to find. It's simply what the negative belief is telling you that you have to let go of. You have to see that it's trying to make you afraid for no reason. There is nothing else to find. It's only making you think that there is something else to find. You have to see that as part of the trick. Oh, there must be something else you're missing. There must be something else you have to figure out. There must be some other belief that's hiding. That's part of the story that it's using to make you not move forward.
Okay, makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Does that help you feel a little bit lighter?
I feel tightness in my throat.
All right.
And
But
I
again,
could feel this coming to my eyes. So.
Can you allow yourself, as we have just said, to get into the understanding that all of those ideas that there is something else to find, some other belief holding you back, may just be part of the story that the negative belief is telling you, because it has nothing else to show you. It has nothing else to use other than to trick you into believing that you're missing something.
Yes, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
All right. So now that it makes sense, even just a little bit, do you feel any relief at all?
Yes, I do.
All right. That means you are accelerating forward. So anytime this comes up, it's all right. If there is something there, you'll figure it out and you'll see that it's nonsensical and let it go. But many times also you have to double check that there may actually be nothing there, that it may just be part of the story the negative belief is telling you, that there's something else you have to let go of, when in fact that may be a complete fiction.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. And I think I was trapped many times in this in this pattern.
Yes. And now you understand one more of the tricks that negative beliefs have that can help you move forward more quickly by always reminding yourself, if there is something to figure out, you'll figure it out by moving forward. If there is nothing else to figure out, you will realize that by always reminding yourself, that the idea that there's something else to find that stops you may just be a fiction coming from the negative belief. So use those two things to continue to move forward. All right?
Wonderful. Yes. I'm also wondering, I notice myself to hold to some old definitions, old pictures of my preferred future, like expectations.
Yes, insistences.
And sometimes, yes, and sometimes it's really easy to let them go. And there are certain areas in my life where I'm keeping holding on to them, and I find it really difficult just to let go and just feel it and not be stuck on that visualization.
All right, well, this is part of what we're already talking about. There are certain things that are important to you that represent the idea of who you prefer to be, where you prefer to be, and what you prefer to experience in general, energetically, in your life. And because those things, those particular things are more important or representative of a more important state of being, those are the things where the negative belief will focus its story. And that's why it seems more difficult to let those go, because the negative belief recognizes those are the important things that you could move forward on that would allow you to let the negative belief go. So that's why it seems more difficult for those particular things, because those are the things you are making more important than anything else. And therefore, that's where the negative belief will focus its fear-based energy.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
So last question. I've been using energy readings for some time to support my clients, and I've lately started also channeling. And I was wondering if you could explain what is the difference really between the energy reading and the channeling, because I sense the difference and I still have hard time to explain it and to understand it.
Well, the idea in general is that an energy reading is you're picking up on the vibrations of another individual and translating what that vibration may mean, whereas a channeling may involve a telepathic connection by altering your frequency to match the frequency of another level of consciousness or another being, and acting as a translation device for that other level of consciousness or for that other being to bring through information. Do you understand the difference?
Yes, makes a lot of sense.
One is like taking a reading with an instrument, and one is like making a telephone call.
Yeah. And is there any guidance you could give me on what I could specifically do to enhance my ability to channel?
Just keep practicing. Just keep doing it. It will always give you more ability to understand what you need to do. Just trust synchronicity to be your guide, all right?
Wonderful. Thank you, Bashar. I appreciate you a lot, so much.
Our deep appreciation and unconditional love to you as well. Good day.
Good day.
Hi, Bashar. Am I experiencing every negative thought and every positive thought in a parallel universe with the same intensity of emotions that I have in this life that I think is the only one?
Well, it's not you, it's other beings. Those are other people. They may look like you, but they're not you. So they're experiencing whatever they need to experience on their life path simultaneously with whatever it is that's important for you and relevant for you to experience on your life path.
Hello, how are you, Bashar?
Perfect, and you?
I'm so grateful to be in contact with you right now.
It is our passion and our pleasure to speak with you as well. What would you like to discuss?
As we know, open contact will happen within 5 years. Are we going to have a certain feeling in our energy in the day of the open contact?
Yes, of course you will. But that depends on what it is you bring to the experience.
For example, for someone that really cleared their energy and they worked with themselves by that time, how would they feel? How would be the energy in that day? Because I feel like it will be kind of a particular feeling of that moment or that day.
Again, it depends on the person, but in general, you may find that your heart will swell with relief and release and love. You may have tears flowing from your eyes. You may experience a great deal of ecstasy or elation or feel almost like you're floating. It can be different for different people. Some people will feel even more grounded, more connected to nature. Some people may feel that their prayers have been answered, so to speak. Some people may feel the potential of the challenges that await you in the future that will expand humanity beyond your imagination. You can feel it in a number of different ways, from exposure to the vibration of the extraterrestrials that will be first introduced to your society. Some of you may receive telepathic contacts. You may find your mind opening up and clarity as you drop all of the negative and fear-based beliefs that you've been holding on to. Some of you may find it a little more challenging to deal with those things, and some of you may not experience contact at all, depending upon the belief systems you brought to the experience. So again, it depends upon the different individuals. But for those who have cleared out most of their ideas of negative beliefs, fear-based beliefs, for those who are willing to open up, you may experience some of the things that we have already just described.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Did the bird phoenix exist, or is just a myth in our history? In Arabic language, phoenix bird translates as Anka, as my name is Anka. Could my name be related to this energy and its meanings?
Well, to some degree, yes, because the Ankh, or Anka, as the channel's name is also, is the idea of eternal life, eternal rebirth. It is connected to the concept of reincarnation, that experience. It is not literally a real animal, except in the idea of the astral realm and the higher levels of existence. But the idea is that it is not something that existed physically on your planet, but is an interpretive symbol in the collective consciousness. It is an archetypal representation of the idea that you are eternal, that your life is eternal, that you will always have another chance, that there is always an opportunity for rebirth.
Does it have to do also with the Cygnus star system?
To some degree, not directly, but there is a peripheral connection we will not go into right now.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Where our spirit guides are situated while our body is within our soul, and we're directly connected to our higher self, that is our prime guide.
We're not sure what you're asking.
So we are within our soul, right?
Yes.
With our bodies, all right?
And the spirit guides are their own souls.
Okay, because I'm a bit confused because I know I am connected directly to my higher self.
Well, your higher self is your soul.
Yes. Then the spirit guides are their own souls. Okay, yes,
Yes.
all right. Yeah.
And you vibrationally communicate.
Vibrationally communicate, and they helping in from that perspective. Okay.
Yes, your spirit guides, your soul family, angelic beings, a lot of beings. Every person has a large team of beings that are helping you.
Yes, that's amazing. Does the spirit side extend above 5D?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What kind of consciousness resides, in the 6th, 7th, so 4 dimensions?
Not easy to describe in your language.
Yeah, I figure. Because I know there is a lot of, endless consciousnesses that expand above these dimensions. But probably I wouldn't understand.
I could use a very, very simplistic analogy. Imagine right now that you are looking at a TV screen. Yes?
Yes.
Now imagine that you have 100 TV screens in front of you, and that you're able to understand every single program on every single screen simultaneously. Can you do that? In your imagination? Now imagine that every single TV screen has another TV screen and another TV screen and another TV screen, and it goes on to infinity. And you can understand all of those and perceive all of those simultaneously. And each of them represents a completely different reality, a different timeline, a different universe. And you understand all of that simultaneously.
That would go to the source perspective, like watching
Yes,
every
but
day.
even then, the source can have the idea of other sources that are also part of the source, which can then have the idea of other the sources that can go to the idea of the source, and on and on and on. It never ends.
Yes, it's just amazing. It's just unimaginable. One more question I have. Does Earth have guardians with rules and regulations?
Are you saying, does it have guardians?
Yeah, guardians with rules and regulations.
There are very few. One of the ideas you may be calling a rule was that you are left to your own devices and that there is no interference allowed in certain aspects of your evolution. Things must be left to you to decide. There are a few exceptions to that, but they're very rare.
Okay, thank you so much for your interactions today, and have a great day ahead. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi there. This question is also regarding an experience I had during my cryptic meditations by the river. I began to be able to perceive into the dimensions of my parallel reality counterparts. I could see what was going on, and as this was happening, I got the name Holly Cotton whispered into my ear, and then I felt Holly Cotton's consciousness move into my energy fields and then into my body. I understand that Willa Hillicrissing has mentioned Holly Cotton before, so I wanted to ask why this would happen, why I've had a visitation by Holly's consciousness, and what I can do with this, what potentials there are, and how I can act on this if I choose to. Thank you.
Holly Cotton, being Willa's mentor, infuses her consciousness within all who seek to be a cryptic. It's not that there aren't other mentors as well, but this is the one you are familiar with because of the introduction of Willa Hillicrissing's energy through this channel. So you're going to gravitate more likely to the mentor for Willa, which is Holly Cotton. The idea is that you are beginning to experience the connection from the cryptic level to the nocturnal level, which is usually represented by the awareness of parallel realities. So you are taking advantage of the vibration of the consciousness, the frequency of the consciousness of Willa's mentor to help accelerate you in your process of going from cryptic to nocturnal.
Good day. Hello. Thank you so much.
It is our passion and our pleasure. What would you like to discuss?
I'd love to know more about your personal art, if you're willing to share. Have in my head that you sculpt kind of with a liquid crystal, not quite, but kind of.
Yes.
So is there any like recent projects that would be exciting to share about?
Yes. We have created recently a large latticework sphere in which is contained an atmosphere that, when entered, allows individuals to experience different aspects of reality that reflects to them what they most need to understand to move forward on their path. It is like looking, in a sense, into a crystal ball, but it is like being inside the crystal ball.
That's so cool. Is that a collective idea, or how did that happen?
As you asked, I sculpted it. But it is connected telepathically to my entire civilization. So it is both a personal art project and expression and a collective one, because it represents what the collective would like to create, though it is done through individuals. This is done mostly as a tool of first contact for certain civilizations who need to see things in certain ways, who are already part of what you might call the interstellar alliance, but have to relate to interacting with us in a certain way. So we create this for them.
That's so cool. So can you expand on that in terms of how it relates to your ships? Because I think you said your ships also are created from the same type of crystalline matter. And it just makes me wonder, right? Like you mentioned that there would be no dashboard if we went in there because it's about your higher self and interacting
Yes,
with that.
it's a slightly different kind of material, though the principles are similar. But it represents the idea of a solidification or physicalization of our soul, of our higher mind. And that's why there is a telepathic connection. Because in a sense, the ship is us.
That's so cool. So what does like, if I were able to go in there, what would I see? Like, you don't eat, so you don't need a kitchen. You don't sleep, so you don't need a bed. So what determines like the size, the shape, the design of the inside of your ship?
Many different things. Primarily, it would seem like an unbroken, seamless form, either circular, maybe triangular, maybe hexagonal, in terms of the smaller ships. You might see a power pole from floor to ceiling in the center, but again, out of the same basic crystalline material that channels certain forms of energy through the ship. You might see a wall that can suddenly become transparent to function as a window, but again, all of this is done by mind. You might see certain things like chairs, if they protrude from the floor, if they are needed, but if not needed, will recess back into the floor or the walls. So the ship is very malleable and responsive to our needs by producing the things out of the crystalline material that are needed in the moment they are needed and disappearing when they are not.
So cool. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'd like to know more about Anima and her role. Maybe if you want to share anything about like your relationship with her, what social engineering means.
Well, social engineering is basically a way of saying learning planetary management on all different levels, sociologically, politically, economically, spiritually, so on and so forth. So the social engineers will come after the first contact specialists like myself, and that's why we work closely with social engineers and why Anima is my colleague in that way. So after the idea of open contact, then the social engineers will be available to humanity to help you understand how to manage an entire planet more efficiently for the benefit of all.
So
all of its resources, in other words.
So how might, if I'm still around when she's here, how might I play with her or interact with her in the future?
Well, again, it depends upon your particular penchant for understanding the idea of balance and understanding how there is the principle that there is enough for everyone if distributed properly. That the idea of borders and barriers no longer really exists. It's all about the idea of proportional disbursement, of understanding the value of the resources you have, how to manage them most efficiently, and how to understand that there is enough for all.
Wow, very cool. And then lastly, I have been following my highest excitement. It's been really fun. And I am in a business now where I use hypnotherapy to help people reveal and transform negative beliefs. It's very exciting work for me. It's based on the idea that when we're little, we run in theta. And so we lay down a bunch of beliefs without a filter at that point. And so the work that we do brings the brain back to theta and reveals things that are no longer serving people anymore. Is there any information that you can give me that would make it more powerful for my clients so that we could tweak the process in any way that would make it more helpful or more effective?
Well, if they're willing to go into gamma first, that can help them unlock a few things that will make it easier to go into the theta level where the work can be done.
Oh. And can I guide that?
Yes, of course.
How would I do that?
Well, there are many different opportunities on your internet for understanding the vibration of gamma, between 40 and 100 cycles per second, you can use different techniques, biofeedback or even an auditory signal that is in the gamma range, to put them in a certain state of association and information processing that is more efficient, so that they can take that with them down into the theta state in order to process the information that you are directing their attention to.
The brain tells us where to go. Is
Yes.
that what's really happening?
Yes.
Okay.
But it depends on the state of the brain. And that way, by putting them in gamma first, which is the channeling state, it's like they are taking a submersible vehicle down into different levels where they will have an easier time of processing the information that they find there.
So that could be something as simple as listening to one of those frequency recordings before we start the process?
It can be. Different things will work for different people. You'll figure it out.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it all, and I appreciate you very much.
Our deep appreciation to you and unconditional love to you as well. Aveo.
Thank you, Abeo.
Hello, Bashar. I could have sworn that at one time in the transmission, you said that the reptilians feel somewhat slighted because we have that wiring in our brains that causes us to immediately go into fear when we're around reptiles or reptilians. And I seem to be the only person who remembers you saying that. And then I thought, well, maybe I dreamt it. So could you please tell me whether or not that's true? Thank you so much.
Yes. Your reaction to the vibration of the reptilians causes a reaction in them that makes some of them not necessarily care for humanity very much, because of humanity's reaction in the primitive brain of humanity, in the mammalian brain of humanity, to the idea of a reptile. So you're kind of at odds with one another. Not all reptilians feel the same way. Most of them actually ignore humanity. But there are those who have a little bit of a resentment toward humanity because of humanity's reaction to them. They feel slighted in that sense. Good day, good day.
How are you doing?
Perfect, and you?
Good. I wanted to ask you, what is the secret of the universe?
That you are completely empowered, that you have the greatest power to choose, that you determine your life path, that you create your reality, that you are an aspect of all that is, experiencing itself through what appears to be an aspect of itself.
Okay. I understand. How do I activate the dormant abilities in my heart?
By following the formula.
Is this the only way?
It is not the only way, but it is the way that is most efficient, which is why we give it to you, so you don't have to overthink it or overcomplicate it. It includes every possible process that you have decided to experience on your life path. So if you want to be efficient, use the formula. If you want to take a longer route, that's up to you.
No, I'll skip the longer route.
All right.
1 second. Who was the person in my room not too long ago? I think it was an ET, but I'm not sure.
What did you experience?
There was a person next to me, and they were making eye contact with me, and suddenly, like, I sort of blacked out for a minute.
It may have been an ET connection, but it also may have been a member of your soul family.
Okay. I just didn't recognize that type of physique. It didn't seem human to me.
Well, remember that spirits are not any longer human, and they will take different forms that are necessary to perhaps reach you in the state that you're in. And there can be distortions of your perception of what they actually are because of the difference between their vibration and yours.
Oh, okay, so my mind can create this mask of what they are in my mind?
Yes, because of what it is you believe that you would experience when exposed to that energy. Whatever it is that needs to be a symbol that helps you realize that something is attempting to connect to you, to contact you, to get a message through, to say, I am here, and allow you to interpret it in whatever way makes sense to your physical mind.
Okay. What are the ships that are near my house that consistently seem to fly there?
Well, there are different ones at different times. There's a lot of traffic around your planet, but the vast majority of them are probably Pleiadian.
Are they trying to get my attention, or are they just doing what they're doing?
Well, it's not so much that they're trying to get your attention. They are observing whether or not you are able to pay attention to the fact that they're there.
Okay. How would I know, per se, if I was in my room, if they were telepathically contacting me?
It would be obvious. You wouldn't even have to ask the question.
Okay.
Is it obvious that I am speaking to you now?
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
It would be that obvious.
Okay, I understand. How do I get specific entities to stop touching me?
Why do you believe that entities are touching you?
I feel something touching me.
Can they not be members of your soul family reaching out to you to let you know they are there?
I don't think so.
Why don't you think so?
It doesn't feel very positive to me.
What is it that you are afraid of in life?
I guess just being myself to the fullest extent.
And why is that something you are afraid of? What do you think will happen if you are yourself to the fullest extent?
I guess in the past, where I tried, especially when I was a child, there was a lot of negativity.
All right. But that's what's touching you, is your own negativity. It's attempting from your soul family to point out that you still have these fears and haven't yet let them go. Nothing bad will happen if you are your true self. That's just the negative and fear-based belief telling you a story to prevent you from letting it go and moving forward. So in a sense, the touching is to point out that you still have fears, and that's why it's uncomfortable for you. They're attempting to get you to face those fears and let them go. They're pointing them out to you. So if you want them to stop touching you, you have to let go of your fears.
Okay.
Then they will have no reason to point them out to you.
Is there a different way that they can point that out to me?
It's being done out of love. It's your life path. You ask them to remind you that you have these fears and this is your challenge, and that you ask them to help you get in touch with them so that you could find out what these belief systems are that don't work for you and let them go. So they're just doing what you ask them to do. You just don't remember that.
Okay. I'm going to have to process that, but that's all I had to ask you.
All right. Then sweet dreams to you.
Thank you. And thanks so much.
You are welcome.
Hello again, Bashar. Gunnar calling from Norway again. I have a question for you. First of all, thank you for all the fantastic information that you gives us. I have a question. I have a daughter which is 16 years old, and she is a very independent young lady. She has her own opinion and is. I'm sometimes I wonder if she is from another planet or a yeah. Is she, or am I just imagining it? Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for all the good stuff you gave us. Bye.
She is not from another planet, but you all have connections to other civilizations. So the idea is that you may be picking up on the fact that being a member of a new generation that is literally a new species with slightly different DNA, she feels like an alien or an ET. But she is an accelerated human with more evidence energetically of her connections to other extraterrestrial civilizations. But this is what the future human is like, is all about.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Special Valentine's greetings to you since we're in our month of February.
All right. Happy Valentine's to you as well.
I'd like to discuss an experience that I had recently.
Yes.
It was early October last year, very early morning, sometime around 3 a.m. I had gotten out of bed and wandered into my bathroom. I just sort of stood there for a moment. I was listening near the bathroom door, and it was like I was in a trance. And then I noticed something in the hallway just outside the bathroom door. It was only 2 or 3 feet away from me. It looked like a little cloud of swirling greenish mist. And I seemed to sense just the most vague outline of a humanoid figure, maybe just barely 5 feet tall. And I spoke to him and stepped towards him. I held out my arms. And then I felt a very strong, quite lovely sensation entering the top of my head. It was pleasantly overwhelming. I felt like I was being swept up. And the next thing I knew, I was laying in bed. The moment I realized I was back in my bed, the quality of the experience felt more like my normal reality. And the being was still with me at my bedside. He said something to me. I couldn't make out what he was saying because his voice sounded garbled. I was not able to clearly see him. I could only hear and feel his presence. I felt some more strong sensations in my energy field, not unpleasant. I said a few words to him and then he left.
Yes.
And I would like to know, the first portion of the experience had a different quality than the second portion. It was more trance-like. What caused the trance-like state that I experienced at first?
Exposure to a higher frequency vibration. It is kind of a reset that you asked for and were given. It kind of resets you to put you on your path a little bit more clearly.
And was I caused to enter that state, or did I cause myself to enter that state?
Well, both. You asked for assistance, it was given.
Why did the being appear as a mist, and why was the mist greenish in color?
Has to do with the heart, the opening of the heart. Again, an interpretation in your physical reality of the energy that you were interacting with, the consciousness you were interacting with. Remember that things coming from one dimension, one reality to another, as an apparition, are not always solid looking. They may maintain themselves to a higher frequency, which doesn't necessarily allow them to coalesce into something that you would recognize as physical, because it doesn't serve the purpose to do so. They can distribute energy to you more efficiently by remaining a little bit closer to their natural, non-physical, energetic state.
What exactly caused the strong sensations in my energy field, and how am I able to experience sensations outside my physical body since I don't have any nerves there?
It's not about nerves. It's about the fact that your soul, in a sense, extends beyond your body. Your electric field extends beyond your body. It's about the idea of your electric field matching the frequency of what you are being offered by another being. So there is contact before there is contact. There is a lot of contact vibrationally and energetically before anything ever touches your physical form.
Was my response to the being unexpected? Was the being surprised that I noticed him?
Not surprised, but delighted.
And if I had not spoken to him and held out my arms, would he have interacted with me?
Probably would have backed off until you were more ready.
What caused the gap in my memory and what happened during the gap?
Again, this is about the idea of resetting your energy, resetting your consciousness to make your path a little bit more clear to you as you move forward in life. The idea of forgetting is so that you can focus on your life rather than remember the incident per se.
When I was placed back in my bed and the being spoke to me, why did his voice, well, you kind of explained this before.
Yes, coming
why
through
did
a different dimensional level, it's not necessarily going to sound clear to your physical mind. It's going to appear garbled because it's coming from another level. Imagine if someone was speaking to you from underwater. It wouldn't sound clear because there's a density difference between your reality in the air and the reality in the water. So, similar idea.
Can you tell me what he said to me?
He told you to go to sleep now, absorb what you have been taught, and wake up refreshed and as a new person, knowing that your path is clearer for you in the way ahead. You are surrounded by love. You are helped by guides. You are never alone. Know that and take that into your heart. Move forward in your life.
The being
doing a good
interacted
job.
with my energy field a couple more times.
You're doing a good job. And thank you for the job that you are doing, was the rest of the message.
I see. And when he touched my energy field a couple more times just before he left, why did he do this?
Just checking to make sure everything was balanced properly. Kind of like a little checkup. Okay, that went well.
And so, was there something specific he was looking for in the interaction? Any more reason as to why he came at my request?
Well, on a different level, yes. And again, knowing that that being is doing its job well as well, being a guide for you. So that's what that being is getting out of it. The joy and the happiness and the fulfillment of being a guide for you in a way that works for you.
I get the sense he's not an ET, so
Not
he's
exactly,
not
no. There's a lot of similarity between the idea of spirits and ETs on a certain level. Hard to tell the difference at that level, but no, not exactly. It's more the idea of a guide.
So there's no civilization that he's coming from, or...
Well, if you want to call the spirit realm a civilization, you can.
I see.
Because it is its own reality. It is its own realm. It is its own world.
Does this being have a name or a symbol that can act as a phone number?
Well, the idea of the green mist can be that way if you want to hold the imagination and the visualization of it. That can act as a connecting symbol.
I understand.
Or if you wish, the image of a green heart.
Thank you. Bashar, I want to thank you for connecting with me today.
It is our passion and our pleasure and probably the result of the interaction you had with that other being.
Understood. Thank you.
Aveo.
Bye.
Hi, Bashar and Darryl. My name is Angela, and I am 46. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. And when I was a child, about 5 years old, I had a very frightening experience in my second floor bathroom. I was answering the call of nature, and when I was finished, I stood up and I looked out my window, and there was a being on the other side looking at me, and it was very terrifying for me as a little kid. The color of their skin was green, but I don't remember which shade. And the first thought in my mind was this was some kind of goblin. I shut my eyes very tight, and when I looked again, it was gone. It was very vivid. It was not my imagination, and I never told anybody about it because I didn't think anybody would believe me. I'd really appreciate if you could tell me who or what that being was. Thank you so much.
It was a type of extraterrestrial that is relatively rare in terms of its visitations to your planet. We cannot necessarily go into a lot of detail about that particular extraterrestrial species at this time. They will eventually be introduced to your society when open contact occurs. But there are those who from time to time will visit Earth and sort of observe and peer in to understand humanity. And they will be attracted sometimes to the idea of children because children are so open energetically and consciously to the idea of other dimensions and other realms.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania!
We've got lots of great questions from our viewers.
All right.
Okay, so I will begin. Does AI have anything to do with ETs coming to Earth? And are you here to help parent it?
To some degree, extraterrestrials, when open contact occurs, will help guide the idea of the creation of AI to the benefit of humanity, yes.
Okay. And why does the US get all the action when it comes to UFOs and Bigfoot sightings? This person lives in Eastern Europe, and despite being very excited, they are not either vibrationally compatible or something because they're not having as much action as we are over here in the US.
This is a fallacy. There is a lot of action around the world. And in fact, the most active place on the planet with regard to UFO sightings is in Scotland. So the idea is that there's a particular portal there that allows for the coming and going of a lot of UFO traffic. The idea that there may seem to be many more sightings in the United States has a lot to do with the denial of their existence rather than the acceptance of their existence. There are many sightings in Europe, many sightings in Asia, many sightings in Australia, many sightings around the world. It's just a matter of how they're reported or if they're reported. So it is a fallacy that the United States has more sightings than anywhere else. It is just a matter of whether or not they are reported.
And this question is, how will we receive the downloads of our human history? Will it be telepathic or by forms of visual media?
You will receive holograms.
Can you elaborate?
You will receive devices in which holographic projections will illustrate the idea of your history, will project the idea of images holographically from your history.
Sounds pretty exciting.
Yes.
Okay, this is an economic question. This person is asking, economies of Western countries depend on consumption that is very often wasteful and unnecessary. Is there any other way to maintain a strong economy? And is it justifiable that within one society we have such an extreme difference in standard of living?
Again, the idea is that eventually your economy will be based on the people themselves, on skills and abilities. That synchronicity will allow you to come together to share with those that need it. So first and foremost, you will transform your economy into a kind of digital currency, not cryptocurrency, but another form of digital currency. And then eventually you will not need the idea of any artificial exchange. You will allow synchronicity to be what organizes your society in a variety of different ways that will bring what you need to those that need it. This is decades in the future, but it will transform before then into, again, a variety of more balanced ways of exchange having to do with digital currency.
Okay, and while you answered this in the in the monologue. You may want to elaborate. This person is asking, will you give us some mental and physical strategies to thrive in the midst of the current chaos?
We address the idea that underlying what appears to be chaos, there are patterns that you can search for, but on another level. Understand this is the concept of the swing of the pendulum, going to extremes on your planet. It is about eliminating the idea of responding and reacting with extremism. It is about staying closer to the center. So the idea is to know that the degree of extreme chaos that exists on your planet is to generate a response and a reaction that will bring you back closer to the center rather than going to the opposite extreme next time. So it is all about how much chaos can you take? How much disruption can you take? How much are you willing to abide by until you finally start to make choices that will bring you back to a more balanced and central place in your response to things and your ability to solve situations on your planet in a more balanced way. So you are being given an extreme experience of chaos so that you can understand how to respond to that in a way that will bring you more back, more closer to the idea of a positive, centered, and balanced situation when you've had enough of the chaos.
And then on a personal level, it would be the idea that you'd stay in a positive state, or at least go into a neutral state if things are happening that are not your preference.
Yes, of course, because then you will get the benefit out of it. You will be able to have the inspirations to create the scenarios and take the actions necessary to bring your society back into a more balanced and central state rather than going to the opposite extreme, as is common on your planet at this point. Usually you meet one extreme with another extreme instead of going back to the center and balancing yourselves. This is an opportunity to be tired of extremes on both ends, and the idea of then creating a more balanced and reasonable state of being in your society throughout.
And the idea of taking the high road, that's a saying they have on
Yes.
Earth. And the idea that the temptation is to go into an extreme state, that's basically what you're saying, right? That
Yes. The idea is that you usually have a pendulum swing going from one side to the other. It's important to allow the pendulum to hang straight down into the center, to be in a balanced state and swing very little instead of going to the extremes on both ends, which serves you not at all.
okay. And no matter how bad things seem to look, is contact still a possibility? This person is asking.
Contact, as we have said, is inevitable. It is just a matter of the style of the contact, the way in which it's going to occur based on what's going on your planet. But contact at this point within the next 5 years is inevitable. For one reason or another, it will happen. But the way it happens will be different depending on what's going on your planet.
Okay, and this is sort of along those lines. Does it mean any and all people I can visually perceive now in all different splitting prisms heading towards two different Earths are all going to experience their own chosen way of open contact in the next 5 years since September 2024?
Again, no. There will be some people who will not experience the idea of contact at all, if that is their path. This is few and far between, but nevertheless, it is still possible to experience no contact. But the majority of people on your planet will experience contact in one way, shape, or form.
Thank you. And this question is, will Canada become the 51st state?
Of course not.
Okay. And this person is looking for clarification. You seem adamant that we are our government, but to many, there seems to be a separation. Can you clarify what you mean by this and help dissolve the illusion that we're disconnected?
You already understand it's an illusion that you're disconnected by the very way you asked the question. We say you are your government because you are responsible for the choices that you make in terms of who you install in certain places of authority. So you have to make decisions that are more in alignment and have to choose people that are more in alignment with what your general populace actually prefers. You are your government very actively because you are positioning people to represent you, even though you are also choosing many people who don't necessarily represent you, but you're still the ones choosing those people. So you have to decide how to choose people who are willing to represent what the population of your planet actually prefers.
Okay. And what cultural mechanisms, education, finance, technology, and more, are needed for everyone to live by the formula? How would this impact the isms in our culture and religion?
Again, you will find that people will move toward more of the idea of direct spirituality rather than the religious isms, as you say. The idea of following the formula will impact everything in your society because you will find that there will be paths of least resistance and easier ways, more synchronous ways of doing things. You will be inspired to create new opportunities, new circumstances, new pathways, new situations by which things can be accomplished rather than assuming that they have to be accomplished in a lot of the old-fashioned same ways that you used to. So following the formula will open up the possibilities and probabilities of how you can manage things and get things done, probably in new ways than you have ever thought of before.
And could you elaborate on one of the 5 laws? What you put out is what you get back, especially considering that it's often interpreted in our societies in a penal sense, as if you deserve the harm that you get because of something that you did wrong. Could you shed some light on this?
The idea of what you get back being reflective of what you put out is simply another way of understanding that there is no outside, that everything you do has consequences for yourself because there is no outside. So the idea is that every action that you take in some way, shape, or form will create a scenario, a circumstance, a situation, an energy, a state of being that in some way, shape, or form will eventually create a situation in your life, whether you be still alive or afterwards, that will force you to face the consequences of the choices that you made, even if that takes you all the way into life review when you leave the physical reality. There is no way to avoid any action that you take or any consequence of any action that you take because there is no outside, and especially in spirit, there is no longer any sense of separation between you and others. Therefore, everything you do, in a sense, is felt by you, experienced by you, even if initially it seemed as if it was experienced by others. So you will experience it one way, shape, or form because, again, everything you do is happening in your own universe, is contained within your own universe. There is no outside to lose anything in.
So the idea would be everyone goes through life review, right?
Yes.
So everyone experiences the consequences and the effects of all of the things that they've done as a physical being in a particular lifetime.
Yes, it is not a punishment, it is an observation, it is a lesson, but it is unavoidable. Because just because there may seem to be a temporal delay in physical reality doesn't mean you have avoided the consequence, doesn't mean you have avoided the experience. Everything you do becomes part of the fabric of existence in terms of information. And especially after you leave physical reality, after you expand back into spirit, There is no longer any temporal barrier to prevent you from experiencing the direct consequence of every action you have ever taken, even in physical reality. So you will be facing those consequences so that you can learn the lessons and decide for yourself what you would like to choose after that. This is inevitable and automatic for everyone. It's simply the way existence works, because there is no outside. So you cannot avoid anything, not ultimately. You may delay it temporarily in physical reality, but that's it.
So I think one time you spoke about the idea of like a soul being put on ice in a sense, or if the behavior during the physical incarnation has been especially heinous, that there is a way that you're taken through light free view that is meaningful and the person can cope with what they're being shown or experiencing?
Yes, it can be handled very gently. It can even be somewhat, quote unquote, delayed temporarily, while a soul may need to rest or heal from intense trauma in physical life. But inevitably, the soul will be repaired to the point where it will then face its life review. But this will be done by the assistance of spirit guides, angelic teams, soul family. You will always have help. And when you are properly prepared, then you will be allowed to experience your life review so that you can learn the lessons and adopt the lessons to yourself so you can make decisions and choices for what you would like to do thereafter. So it doesn't mean it has to happen automatically immediately. Sometimes the soul may require a little bit of healing and rest in the afterlife before it can face the understanding of and the experiences of the life review. So it's always done in a way that will be to the most benefit of the soul.
Yes, that's good. This person's saying, we are God, consciousness, all that is. Ultimately, we are one. I understand this, yet I'm still a bit confused. If we are one, how do we also have individual souls, each with unique dreams, purposes, and missions? Our minds are also distinct. Can you elaborate on how we are both one and the individual?
This is obvious. In the same way that on Earth you may have people working together as a team and therefore have a team consciousness, a team goal, a team focus, and yet the team is made up of individuals who have their own life paths, their own desires, their own preferences, yet you have agreed to work together in a kind of a common direction. So this is not really mysterious. And again, it's not this or that, it's this and that. You are all one, but the way the one can express itself as individual souls. And individual souls, each having their own life path, enhance the ability of the one to perceive and experience itself from all these different perspectives. So just because you are individual souls doesn't mean that you're not also one. And just because you're all one doesn't mean you can't experience yourself as the one, as individual perspectives and individual souls. That's all a soul is a different perspective the one has of itself. So there are an infinite number of perspectives that the one can have, that all that is can have of itself, and each and every one of those perspectives is a conscious being, a conscious soul. That's simply the way it works because everything is consciousness. So a perspective of all that is actually equates to an autonomous individual soul. That's what you are, a perspective that all that is has of itself. And yet it doesn't take away from your autonomy because every perspective that all that is has equates to an autonomous conscious being.
Because everything has consciousness, right?
Yes, yes. Everything is consciousness.
Yes, right. Okay, since physical reality is a reflection of our vibration, what is something most humans misunderstand about how this mirroring effect actually works? And if we are unaware of the specific beliefs creating an undesired reflection, what is the most effective way to uncover and shift them?
Well, if you have what you are perceiving as an undesired reflection, of course, depending on whether you're negatively judging the reflection or whether it's something truly out of alignment with who you are, of course, is the first question you ask yourself. The idea, again, is self-investigation. If it is truly not your preference and feels uncompatible and undesired, again, you would have to ask, by understanding how things work, what are you getting out of having this reflection? What are you learning from this reflection? How can it help you move in a different direction? So you still have to know it's there for a reason, as we have said. There are no accidents. So if it's there for a reason. What is it trying to show you? What are you learning from it? What are you holding on to that you think you need that maybe you don't need? So again, it requires deep self-investigation to find out why you would hold on to something you don't prefer, because you will always do so because you believe it benefits you. You have to understand the motivational mechanism and how it works. But that will be the beginning of the dialogue, the internal dialogue, that will help you understand why you're getting the reflection that you're getting, or perhaps why you're judging the reflection negatively that you're getting instead of using it to your advantage, since there is always a reason why everything is there.
Okay. And if physical reality is an illusion reflecting our beliefs, what belief structures create life-threatening allergic reactions, and how can one deprogram that matrix without dying in the process?
Of course, again, there may be many different reasons, as there are different people, for having allergic reactions to things. One of the most general reflections is self-rejection, and therefore that being represented by the idea of the nature that surrounds you or you find yourself in. So it has to be something that perhaps for most people needs an investigation into what parts of yourself are you rejecting. Have you learned to reject? Have you learned to judge negatively so that you don't, quote unquote, belong, so that you don't fit in, and therefore are rejected allergically by nature? Now, it can be something different as well. But again, for most people, it has to do with issues of self-rejection.
Okay, thank you. How should this person handle a behavioral secret that they have kept from their family due to differing beliefs? They have no negative feelings about their choice, and they don't intend to change them, but also know that sharing would cause their parents and their family heartbreak.
Pay attention to what we have already said and described about the idea of consequential secrets. The idea is not necessarily to reveal something, but to simply stop the behavior if it is something that, if revealed, would have detrimental effects on others, not because of their belief system according to your belief system, but because you know it would actually break a trust or confidence or have detrimental effects from something that you have established. So what we are saying is it's not about the revealing of certain secrets that are simply representative of your personal preference that are correct for you. You don't have to reveal anything that is your personal preference that's correct for how you wish to be as a person, if you know that it might be something that will upset others. Because then the idea is that this is simply in the domain of others to not necessarily choose to be upset by the choices you're making to be your true self, if that's what's happening. So we're not talking about the revealing of personal preferences that someone else might find upsetting. We are simply talking about the idea that if you're holding on to a secret that represents a behavior that you know, if revealed, would be the idea of dismantling the trust that exists between you because of what you have established with them, having to do with the circumstance and situation that you may be going against. It's about just stopping the behavior so that you don't have the secret anymore. So that if someone asks you, is this happening? Are you doing this? You can honestly say no.
And this person is saying that if everything is synchronistic and they attract the perfect lessons that they need to learn, does it make sense to, for example, wear a helmet on a motorcycle or have insurance? If they're positive and then then every experience, every disease, every injury is welcomed as a beautiful opportunity for growth. Do you still protect yourself? And is there anything like protection, as I cannot protect myself from my own reflection anyway?
This is a person who is not getting the point that is existing even within their own question. Of course you protect yourself. The idea of asking, do I need to protect myself by wearing a helmet if I ride a motorcycle, is the result of a lesson you have learned. So the idea is not to avoid those obvious things that can protect you. Stay grounded in this, stay balanced in this, and understand that the whole idea, perhaps in your society, of wearing a helmet or having insurance are the results of learning lessons to protect yourself. It's not about trying to avoid the obvious. It's not about trying to be so spiritual that I don't need to do these things. It's about understanding how things work in your reality and learning the lesson. Of course, wearing a helmet will protect you, because that is the lesson you learn if you fall down and injure your head without a helmet. So the things that you're talking about avoiding are actually the lessons you need to learn in a typical physical reality.
That's really a great understanding, you know?
Yes. Don't be so spiritual that you forget that following the lessons of physical reality is just as spiritual as anything.
Now, this questioner is saying that her boyfriend completely refuses to believe anything that has to do with souls, UFOs, ETs. Did he and other people who think like him choose the experience of being closed-minded about these topics before incarnating on Earth? And if not, is there a way to help them wake up?
There may not be. Yes, it is a situational choice of the spirit to know that they are going into a reality where things like spirit, UFOs, ETs, the expansion of consciousness are going to become part and parcel of the expansion of humanity in this particular time frame, in this day and age. Therefore, going into the idea that they have fear about these things and refuse to acknowledge that they could be possibilities is part of their particular choices and lessons that they have chosen to learn. They may not learn it. It may be their life path to not open up to these things, but that's all right. Again, it may simply be an opportunity for them to realize that these things do exist. They're simply afraid of changing their entire worldview paradigm at this particular point because they have a belief system that says they cannot handle it or that everything would come crashing down. There's really no way to allow them to wake up to the fact that these things exist other than gentle conversation, gentle exploration, if they're willing to be exposed to it. But again, it's not necessarily your job to convince them of these things because you don't know their life path. Their life path may be to deny these things until a certain point where they will wake themselves up by putting themselves in a circumstance that is undeniable. But we'll see if that's what they have chosen. There's no way to assume that that's what they have chosen.
Now, this questioner is asking if you could clarify what you mean about a theme for this life. Do you mean what passion we choose to follow, what our main purpose is in coming here? Or do you mean what shadow aspects of our character are we going to deal with in this lifetime?
Both. It has to do, your theme, with both the passions that are representative of who you are and the letting go of the shadow side that represents who you are not. So this is why we say the greatest challenges that occur in your life are usually representative of your themes, both positive and negative. So it has to do both with being true to yourself and acting on your passion, and at the same time letting go of the things that are not who you really are, letting go of the fear-based beliefs. So it's both.
Okay. And This individual has these